Hey, we're at the back of the Empress Theater. Empress, let's go around about it. And I decided to just change a little bit of the trajectory. I was heading towards Mount Royal, but I decided to snake it a little bit. Gonna begin commence with my gratitude. This is the second video for March 19th, the last day of that winter, and yours truly here. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee from Sherbrooke. Adrian Hannah Dragon, keep my holy name out of your mouth if it's not for a blessing. For the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighter, grocery store clerks. On the toes, Dragon vs. Trump special edition. And see, this has been in operation for many decades, but it's been, I believe, more than 44 years or so since nothing has been done with it. And I always wonder if there's something going to be done with it, because I really love the relation to this from ancient Egyptian triggers, lifetime, past lifetime incarnation, past incarnations of yours truly. There's a goddess, and that's, you know, a little bit of the goddess with it, and blessing, I guess, a priest or with the priestess or the goddess, high priestess or goddess there, and they're both released with the sun and the moon, and that's what I gotta go with that. So that's always something interesting. And of course I said that I'm gonna go to the mountain again, but I said we went yesterday, so now today we're just gonna switch it a little bit. Sometimes it's good, a little bit of change. And since it said 18 degrees, I said we're gonna hit it, go towards that river. We're gonna change trajectory. We came towards the east. Now we're gonna go towards the west. So basically what we did is we kind of did a little bit of detour. So always gonna commence with gratitude. Although financially stressed, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and I got that backpack with those red gloves by which I challenged Trump to fight me in a boxing match on the Canadian-US border. Got the red backpack, and I got 3 items. One for today, last day of winter, tomorrow for the equinox, and another one from Friday the Sabbath. I got sweets, and I gotta give a shout out, salutation to an anonymous cashier, I guess, cashier owner. It's a new place, and first time that I shop, and I was missing actually. This time I was missing a bit. I tried it with the card, but it didn't work, and I checked my budget afterwards. But nonetheless, he decided to sponsor me about, actually it was more than $1.56. I gotta double check, but I think it was close to $2 even, maybe even $3, and said it's okay. I said, you sure? I think it was the owner, because he saw me becoming a regular customer since they opened about last month or so. Once in a while, once every week or 2 weeks or so I go. And I think we talked before, and I decided to say, I said, no, you can take this item off. This item is about $3.99. So showed him I had like a few dollars of that, and we counted, and he said, no, it's okay, don't worry about it. And I was so grateful, thankful, something which is an act of goodness and kindness, so it always deserves. And you see my past videos, sometimes I'm missing like a quarter, 50 cents to buy the items. And people cashier here were also, struggling probably financially like me, did an act of goodness and kindness. And I always appreciate, probably said, oh, this neurodivergent probably is financially stressed, and probably joked. I believe last time I joked, I said, yeah, this is a gift from second hand. The pants also are second hand bought, and the jacket also. Said he laughed. He said, yeah, I guess we gotta do second hand a lot these times. And yours truly, grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And on the backpack, inside the backpack, I got 3 different sweets. One I tried before, but one I never tried before. And of course the other one which I tried before was the halva. So before trying the halva, now I'm gonna try a different halva. And of course the other one I tried, and I got a little bit of sweets spread, hazelnut spread from Germany, which I'm gonna keep for the Sabbath, for the weekend, for the Friday, because it's a big jar. So my workout, which is gonna be more than 4 hours, I already did more than 66 minutes earlier today in that first video, part 1 of this March 19th special edition, celebrating, marking 5 years since I survived COVID. I survived COVID back between February 7th and March 28th, and the March 28th, 29th. Last days of March, last maybe 27th, 28th, 29th of March, around that time when I was healed and started healing in the end of March. And by the 28th, 29th of March, I was kind of healed, So I kind of got back to business. But 2020, so that's when I had COVID. And COVID for me was like death, pestilence, and disease. It's really hardcore when I had COVID. And I of course keep the protocols of the public hygiene as I go on these marches now, marching for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. And today I'm going to include the cashier worker who did me an act of goodness and kindness to say, because he could have scanned off, like he could have taken off, of course, the products, which was I think it was $3.99, but I was missing about, I gotta double check the bill, but I was missing at least $1.56, $1.56, if not close to $3. Maybe even $3 and, no, not 333, no, whatever. God has blessed, or whoever, whatever blessings, just a citizen from citizen, you know. Sometimes spiritual matters are more personal issue, but nonetheless, just of a good karma, I guess, and justice balance. That was something, of course, which we gotta get doing on that, and it's something which I gotta appreciate, and always appreciating people who do acts of goodness and kindness like that, you know. So that is what it is. And here is a one-way street, but I still turn my head left and right because cars can come, you know. Brakes malfunction, citizen presses the accelerator instead of the brake. So here as I go, rock and roll. What is that antenna? Red, my favorite color. What is the server purpose of that red? Purpose. Dragon Army, how do we channel the aggression? With push-ups and hugs. How do we channel the aggression? With push-ups and hugs. How do we channel the aggression? With push-ups and hugs, you know. So gotta be on that love. And I saw so many people now when I came out for the second row holding hands and loving. And I did a little bit of math, a little bit of mathematics. Some radius, some diameter. A diameter is to radius. What is the equation? Equations, you know, are set in stone. Mathematics is principle and logic, and I still got to learn more mathematics. I love percentages, fractions, and I guess a little bit of fractions and percentages the most. Percentages in mathematics I love the most. Percentages and multiplication and addition. So, you know, I have a fun with mathematics, and also geopolitics, you know, being an independent theoretical analyst and theorist in the world of geopolitics, and artist and athlete, philosopher, and of course, yours truly, laying the foundations for the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. The dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom with 718 trillions of kisses, 700 trillions of kisses, 718 trillions of kisses for the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. And yesterday you saw me going at the headquarters for the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, and now we're heading towards the water. I decided I'm gonna switch, turn, zigzag it. I'm gonna go kind of like a snake, I guess, naked hawk. I saw the hawk today, happy. First time this 2025 season, last day of winter, finishing with some good sports and fitness, and tomorrow is going to be a big cleaning, of course. 22 days of that holy, sacred, divine telema, rites of telema begin, you know. So my anonymous friends, pledge your allegiance to our family. We got to get that pledge your allegiance to our family. Pledge your allegiance to our family. That is the rock and roll song, and already I can say today that I march more than the generals of that NATO. Financially stressed, struggling, and just joyous now. I'm just financially, I'm just stressed, and I had many employments which I loved during COVID. I'm always open for business participation and support the dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, by which I'm laying the foundation with 718 trillions of kisses, 718 trillions of kisses, 718 trillions of kisses. That's the foundations for the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. Gotta turn my head left and right, cause you never know, the brakes malfunction. The citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brake. So those are possibilities of the fundamental possibilities, which in the public I gotta be self-aware, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, and being self-aware that the brakes malfunction, and we gotta get on that possibility of the brakes malfunctioning and the citizen pressing the accelerator instead of the brake. So when we cross here, left, right, north, south, east, west, I always gotta check, double check, triple check, even because, you know, these are part of the security protocols in the public, and here I am in the public. I got additional security for myself as an individual, and the liberty, my security, with somebody else's liberty and security gotta be in compromise, make a compromise, because this is my work, and I always love to work out, train, exercise, you know. So these marching has been something which I love doing, and let's see, there's Orion, so that means when I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna be facing Scorpius. So now I'm facing towards Orion. So in the back of me is Scorpion, because the constellations, you know. Constellations already, of course, getting on the constellations for the east, west, north, south, and constellations always go opposite. Orion is always counterbalance or the opposite with the Scorpio. So if you want to place yourself You place yourself, I guess, by those 7. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the middle of the 3, that's Orion's belt. 1, 2, 3, 4 is like a rectangle, and kind of crossed, a little bit crooked, like a little bit vertical, is the 3 stars. So that's Orion. Supposedly those are aligned with the pyramids. And I was there in a past life as a priestess, as a farmer, priestess, many lifetimes in ancient Egypt, between 3,000 before the Common Era, between 5,000 years ago and 2,000 years ago. I was born about 93, 92, 90, almost maybe 93 times, 92 for sure, maybe 93 times in ancient Egypt. Priestess, a man, a woman, sometimes, you know, my reincarnation, sometimes a man, a woman, and today you get that 50-50, and gotta salute, you know, gotta salute those firefighters and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and all those, of course, to get it on the go with that. So that's what they're doing there they're going east, I'm going west, and I always gotta meditate about how they're doing the driving, you know, and you see now that I see it, they see it, I see it, and I put it in a circumstantial reference, of course, to my geopolitical theoretical analysis, So that's what it is with that, and that's what it is, you know, so that's what we gotta get doing with that, you know, so we always put on the meditation for the geopolitical situation, and geopolitical situation, which is now, is something which, of course, we have to meditate. Of course, that train is open for potential sabotage. See how my brain works? So our brains, I'm referring to Aspies, people who have Asperger's, HFA, we have special interests, and those special interests preoccupy our mental facilities, mental capacities, mental brain intellect, brain wisdom, brain understanding, and brain focus, brain energies focus predominantly on those special interests, also known as obsessive interests, but calling them obsessive would not render justice, because it's really special interests where we Aspies, people who are neurodivergent, we're super intense, super focused, super in it, super concentrated, you know, super in it, super concentrated, super focused in when we're involved in those special activities. And my holy trinity is geopolitics 24/7, the study, the analysis of geopolitics, geopolitical theoretical analysis. Being an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and teacher, has predicted the current situation. So geopolitics, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport and fitness activity. Coupled with rock and roll. Always love to rock and roll for the truckers on the road. For the butchers and the bakers and nurses and the doctors and those firefighters, LoveEvent. It ain't enough, that true, no stronger, free, in the home of the brave, in the land of the free. You gotta add some of that love and loving me. Somebody holding hands, kissing, making out, and that gives me some hope, you know, because otherwise what are we fighting for? If not to wake up tomorrow morning, past by midnight, is somebody not making that LOVE. It's not all about the money. And you know it, deep inside we know it. Money is to buy, sell, and there's a lot of illusions. That's what money serves, the purpose to buy, sell, and that's why my debt refusion theory best. So back to my fellow Aspies, you know, if you're an Aspie, you know that, like myself, we're part of a tiny minority, less than 1%, less than half of a percent, less than about 0.44% of people, that's not a lot, have Asperger's. Have Asperger's. And which is again a neurological mental divergent condition which makes us predisposed to special interest, special focused interest, and those interests, of course, preoccupy our daily habits, daily routines, to the point, of course, of obsession. But utilizing the word obsessive has a more negative connotation. While of course the word special interest is more adequate, because we can be very good, super in it, and super especially when it concerns those areas where we have special interest, also known as obsessive interest. So those special interests, of course, are those special interests whereas we are super focused, super in it, super dedicated, and those special interests, of course, of mine is geopolitics, sports, fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport and fitness, and rock and roll. So I can do those 24/7, spend hours a day for years and years and years with a, sometimes it's a rigid routine, ritual-like routine, and although I can be flexible, I'm flexible myself. I'm not overly inflexible, you know, I have flexibility and nuance and flexibility, but our predispositions is to just be super focused, super intense, super concentrated on those specific special interests, also known as obsessive interest. But obsessive, again, utilizing that terminology, does not render justice to what having Asperger's really is, which is a neurological, mental, divergent condition and so there's Scorpio above us, marching above us, Scorpio. Of course, it's not marching, we're marching. And of course, those special interests for Aspies, we can excel. We can excel a lot. And of course, my proof of work, which I always relate as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist who lives with this neurological mental divergent condition known as HFA, high functioning autism, Asperger's, and live for years and years and years. But it took me about years and years to accept it, only during COVID, about 40, almost 45, a bit more than 44, a lot more than 44, almost 45 months ago when I accepted it, because I've been diagnosed for years and years by several people. So you know you have Asperger's, it was known as HFA, high functioning autism. That's why, you know, you have these seemingly weird habits and you have this knowledge surrounding your special interests, and you seem odd and bizarre and don't understand certain social cues and social communications and social cues of a manner which are pertinent to the social dynamics in society. So that's just what people with Asperger's, what we are basically, fundamentally, what we Aspies are. Neurodivergent, not mentally ill. So, because it's not a mental illness, it's a neurodivergent. A mental illness, that has symptoms, while Asperger's, it's characteristics which we have. So the characteristics of Asperger's are those where I am super concentrated, super in it, and super hidden and intense when it comes to those specific topics. And geopolitics, to the point that I have predicted what's happening now in a general manner, not in an overall detailed manner, but I predicted an international conflagration, aka World War III, back in 2019, in October, November 2019, you know, in October, November 2019, you know, so that's what I predicted. So, and in consequence, I created a workout training program system which was designed for such a scenario and possible mobilization of certain segment of the population. Of, you like the Jets?
I do. They don't win, but I like them.
Yeah?
Got that dog.
Do you know where it was played? You remember the hardball ball, aka blackout ball?
Oh God. Off my head, no.
The Ravens won against the 49ers? You don't remember?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, no problem. I was just curious. I'm gonna check it at home. Bye. There's a fellow citizen there who said, nodded with the head, and I saw was wearing the Jets, you know, so 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 give please NFL, now that I'm on topic, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, please reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%, by 44.9%, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. That's all we gotta get doing with that. That's all we gotta get doing with that. That's what we gotta get doing with that. You know, so that's what we gotta get doing, you know, with the XYZ. And fellow citizen there, I think we spoke during COVID. I think we did volunteering, because I did volunteering during COVID there. The community served some, I was serving some hamburgers and cheeseburgers and serving some food, and I think that's where I met the fellow wearing the Jets, New York Jets. So please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, please donate, give 44.9% reduction for the tickets to be at par and maintain what's the current costs of the prices of living, you know, with the skyrocketing cost of living. Skyrocketing cost of living has grown so much, so for the population to be able to go see the matches. And please also millionaires, because I pass by the public works here, finance the public workers, the firefighters, the nurses, the doctors in the public, those picking up the garbage, collecting the garbage, whatever the case may be. Those to pick up the garbage and collect it, and whatever the case may be, give them a little bit of massages, kisses, tickles with that. Finance them some good therapy. Massages, the only massages, I wish I could afford a massage therapy session myself, but you know what, I cannot afford it, but I can afford to take a bath, which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a bath instead. Because I'm sore. That's what we gotta do. So we gotta be consequential, and we gotta be meditating, you know. So give them a little bit of XYZ, and give them a little bit of XYZ here for those who passed, and those who XYZ with the public workers, you know, some things which we gotta get it on the go and getting on the now. So that's what we gotta get doing. You know? Hey! Which God or goddess are you? Which God and goddess do you worship? Which God and goddess do you worship? Which God and goddess do you worship? Says, leave me alone, I just want some food. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, grocery store clerks. So that's what we gotta do, you know. So. Oh yeah. Oh, I gotta pass, but here also turn your heads left and right, because although it's our turn, pedestrians that is, to cross, you also got to be prudent nonetheless. See? Prudence is required, I guess, constantly. So I'm gonna go because I decided to, instead of going to the mountain, I decided to go towards the water, the mountain, the rocks, and the forest on the mountain. Now we're gonna go towards the water. So I'll do it a little bit of change because I haven't been in a while. I said I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the water. The river. Oh, this is built. Wow. Sometimes they build it fast with that, you know. Sometimes they build it fast with that, you know. So that's what I gotta get doing, you know. So something which we gotta get on the go, you know. Wow, look at that. Quite something here. Not sure what it's gonna be, but looks like it's gonna be something, you know. Which we're gonna do, you know. So wow. Quite something. I'm gonna turn on the light here. Anyways, it's gonna be a motel, I guess. Suites, chamber suites. This could be nice for housing, Dragon Army houses, but gotta salute those construction workers, and those, of course, involved in the production, distribution of food, those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know, in the production, distribution of food, you know, and of course we will to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. The North American People's Imperial Coliseum, you know, something which I will to build. My will, of course, to build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum. 11 times bigger, to be bigger than the stadium where the hardball ball was played. Hardball ball, aka blackout ball, aka hardball ball, where my 49ers lost, and the first event to be the Dragon versus Trump. The Dragon versus Trump edition, you know, to get XYZ, the Dragon versus Trump edition, challenging Donald Trump to fight me for that first inauguration. Have been and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2018. I got those red gloves in the backpack. I guess they add a few pounds for my weight, although yesterday I had a lot of weight on the backpack. It was like military drill style. So that was on that military drill, you know. So all the way to the mountain, and we gotta get it for the LOV, for the lovers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and I'm pretty much joyous, content, happy even, but I'm just financially stressed. So that's what I am with that finance, and something which we gotta get on to do. So it's something which we gotta be on that meditation, you know. Meditating, and being aware of the dynamics, you know, the dynamics of where we are now, where we live, you know, in the consequential matters of the living now, in the North American Collective, in tough times, and I've been tough times, and I celebrate. This march is a celebratory march, festive, celebratory, victorious march from me surviving COVID in 2020. I always say I died during COVID, nothing that I will to go back. I live for today, carpe diem at fullest, of course, and of course with hope for tomorrow when I see people holding hands like I did, a few couples kissing, holding hands on my march before I started filming, and that always gives me hope. And that citizen who did an act of kindness, I'm assuming it was the owner, I'm assuming it was the owner, but I cannot be sure fully if he was the owner or not. Possibility that he was the owner, you know. Owner, worker, cashier, or part of the family which owns the, whatever the case may be, the family business, or whatever the consequence of those matters that may be. So something which we gotta do. And thinking about food, you know, how the possibility of a nuclear war is possible to commence, begin any second, any minute, any day, any hour, any second, any minute, any hour, any day, any week, any month. Or a possibility for a nuclear war. So that's why I'm calling for the building of those 44, the number after 43 before 45 is 44 via the implementation of my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory for the XYZ, you know. So that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And the 44 towns to be in consequence, of course, for that consequential, of course, building of the apparatus of those 44 towns in case of a thermonuclear war, you know, So that's how we gotta be building, and we gotta starting to build ASAP as soon as possible. Super important, you know, to start drilling, you know. But not just drilling, but of course excavation and all the construction workers to build those 44 tunnels. To build and construct those 44 tunnels via the implementation of my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory. And just before I proceed with the Dragon versus Storm call, I will of course to say again, grateful, thankful, rents paid, electricity bills paid, got food, got coffee, and again grateful, thankful to that. I guess I'm gonna call acquaintance, possibility friend, acquaintance friend, for who did an act of kindness to not remove the product, sweets actually halva, which I wanted to purchase, and did an act of kindness to cover the rest of the balance, So that's a good blessing. That's a little bit of justice, and I would have probably done the same depending on whether I've been a worker or an employer, or if I would have been part of the ownership group, you know. But that's acts of charity are of course acts of selflessness, and I'm not totally selfless, I'd never pretend to be totally selfless, but I'm not totally selfish either. I try to strive balance, harmony for myself and for the other, and it's important to have some honesty with certain things, and truth and transparency, you know. And so many things I don't know. I know that I predicted in 2019, October, November, I predicted an international conflagration back in October 2019. And having predicted that international conflagration, I created a workout training program system designed to go hand in hand with the World War III scenario, of which I have proof of work, Because I got that proof, and that proof is whatever it is to be. That proof is whatever it is to be with that. That proof is whatever it is to be. So sometimes we gotta get doing with that. So it's something which we have to meditate as we have come to a point in time historically, we're in a very dangerous position geopolitically. And of course, World War III, maybe some say it even has begun. And myself have created that workout training program system, which I've done myself also, more than 372 sessions. So consequently myself I have done more than 372 sessions. Consequently, I have done more than 372 sessions my own self. Of course, I've worked out, trained, exercised more than 372 of their own creative workout training program system session, and that's what I've done with that, and that's what we gotta get doing for the left, right, and center, and for those I propose vis-a-vis my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex, across North America, basically, to fuse Canada and United States via the implementation of my trinity of theories, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, and the DFT, the Democratic Fusion Theory. Super important, and we have come to a point where much of the public and the private financial situation of both Canadians and my brothers and sisters in the USA is fundamentally in very similar positions. Record-breaking debt, record-breaking credit card debt, record-breaking debts. The debts have skyrocketed, especially during COVID. We have reached to a point where we have record-breaking debt while the salaries have stagnated most. There has been a lot of labor movement in both Canada and the United States with some concessions for the workers, but the average salary increase for the workers has been in the past 5 years, since 2020, 2025, 4.4%. That is very low, while a lot of the interest payments, especially for the public finances of Canada, has more than doubled. So that is a very perilous situation where we are, and it's a possibility that tomorrow, first day of spring, 20th of March, sacred day for my fellow Telemites, it's possible that there is beginning a Black Swan event where there's a public collapse, financial public collapse of the finances of Canada. So that is on the menu. That is on the horizon. So that is on the horizon because the interest payments have doubled. So I'm gonna come back to that, and I'm gonna discuss again a little bit of the Dragon versus Trump initiative, which has been an ongoing initiative. I have hundreds of videos in regards to the matters, and of course I have predicted an international conflagration. There's some bread here. Don't waste food, brothers and sisters. That's food gone wasted there. And it's best not to waste that food, you know. Best not to waste that food, you know. Anyways, I'm assuming because sometimes there's people there in the corner and trying to get some help financially, but nonetheless, oh, my vision is blurred. I still gotta get a second opinion. I still gotta get a second opinion for my eyes. But there you go. You gotta get that. I don't believe in that. A lot of conspiracy theories, but I wonder who put that there. 9/11, I'm guessing, is referring to September 11th. 9/11 was an inside job. There's a popular conspiracy theory. I have questions about Plane 77, which hit the Pentagon. Plane 11 and Plane 93, which hit the towers, the twin towers. I don't know about that. In Pennsylvania, the one that crashed was plane 175. Supposedly there's some mystical, occult, magical numerology surrounding those numbers, which paradoxically, I guess, can equate a bit with different mystical traditions, if you will, but I don't believe it was an inside job, 9/11. I see a lot of those stickers, actually. I see in different places around the city, 9/11 was an inside job. But personally, I have some questions, but I don't believe much in conspiracy theories. I know people conspired, and certain conspiracies like the JFK assassination has taken place, but 9/11 inside job, you know. So what purpose? What's something which we gotta be mindful I don't remember exactly. Supposedly, from my writings, because you know I have blackouts of memory, my retrograde amnesia, and maybe it was when I had COVID that caused it, or where I used to live. There's lots of mold, MOLD, black mold, red mold, green mold, and white mold. You know, all sorts of mold types. And I used to live in an underground basement. I was sick. Listen, maybe where I used to live, that's what caused memory loss. Or I don't do drugs. I haven't done drugs in not the recent memory. You know, very rarely cannabis, and my cannabis has lasted me years and years and years. Last time I bought was like in 2021. 2022, maybe, years and years, because it's legal since 2019. All cannabis products is legal. You just got to be of age. But it's been a long time since I haven't purchased myself, and I still have some actually leftovers, and you know, maybe tonight. I have a joint on me actually, but I've been carrying it around, and I rarely the other a few weeks ago, but rarely, on occasion, you know, very occasionally. But I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I drink wine sometimes when I can afford it, but I don't do drugs. But maybe I did before, years and decades ago. Drugs, and more than a decade ago. And or maybe being because have flashes of trauma and unspeakable deeds being committed against me, and flashes of trauma and being attacked by surprise, hit my head, and went to the hospital. I was given I had a dislocated right arm, and was put on some medication, and had like a coma type of situation for a few days. So I had my own psyllium piver episode, and I survived being that and having COVID. Maybe it's COVID, and sometimes it comes back. It comes back. Sometimes it comes back, the memory. Sometimes to some people who experience memory loss, but it's not on a daily basis, it's not on a weekly basis. So I have good memory of the past 7+ years, let's say, very good memory. Just before 7, 8, when I go 9, 10, I remember just moving. Still, I lived on the island of Montreal, and I know I lived in the South Shore, not far from here, a few miles outside, and I have a high school diploma and all that. I have it, and here I'm from Quebec, Canada, you know. The other things are kind of mysterious. It kind of blurs memory, you know. So anyways, pledge your allegiance to our family. That's the song. That's the most important thing. I survived COVID, survived being depressed, suicidal in 2017. Before that, before August 2017, August and September 2017, I was depressed. I was suicidal, and I crossed Canada coast to coast in that year in 2017, and that event got me being depressed. Crossing Canada made me establish a strong esprit de corps. A strong esprit de corps made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. For my brothers and sisters, established a strong esprit de corps in 2017 when I crossed Canada coast to coast. They're considered Quebecers, Canadians, my family, and my brothers and sisters in the USA as well. Although I will to knock Granddaddy Trump out in the boxing match, sportsmanlike. We're not enemies, and I believe the tariff is fully not the way to go. And check, I have videos, hundreds of videos in relation, and of course have been and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border ever since 2018. And I got those gloves credited from my anonymous friend who, if I make $1 million, gonna give 50% half, $1 billion, gonna give 50% half, $1 trillion, gonna give 50% half, and that's what's it gonna be, gonna give that 50% regardless. And I will to build the Forgotten Goddess, GODDSS temple, the Forgotten Goddess temple, because yours truly with the Forgotten Goddess temple, Forgotten Goddess temple, on the Canadian-US border, parallel to the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, parallel to the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, parallel to the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, parallel to the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. And I gotta take a moment to send some love, some rock and roll to the truckers, those starting their journey now, going east, west, north, south, those finishing their journey, those being on the midpoint, or those just starting fresh on the job, you know. There's some LOV, you know, all the things we have, you know, the supply logistics, and these are possibilities of being exploited or sabotaged and espionage, you know, because we're a collective and we got that integrated Canada, United States, even Mexico in terms of the railroad, since they integrated in 2023 for the first time, and now we got so many highways, thank you public workers, like this bridge, and you know, we take it for granted sometimes, but civilization is a privilege, eh? Having the electricity, the planes in the sky, and the planes in the sky, and whatever the case may be with the planes in the sky, and whatever the case may be with the planes, and you know, let's build 300 brand new electric that line in Quebec, Montreal, for the Canadian North American fusion, as we're gonna fuse in my dream the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, you know, where they're implementing the Trinity of theories, and the Dragon versus Trump is gonna be the first event, and calling on construction workers. I'm gonna put on the table some kisses, some feet washing, some massages for rock and roll, lots of rock and roll for the construction workers who on the Canadian-US border. We're gonna build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be 11 times bigger than the stadium arena where the Hardball Ball, aka Blackout Ball, one of the Super Bowls, one of my favorite top all-time Super Bowls was the Blackout Ball, aka Hardball Ball, where the Ravens beat the 49ers by 3 points. The Ravens beat the 49ers by 3 points. Where the Ravens beat the 49ers by 3 points. The Ravens beat the 49ers. My 49ers, one of my top 5 Super Bowls. And that Imperial People's Coliseum is going to have Sportis in Perpetuitis. Sportis in Perpetuitis is going to be for Sportis in Perpetuitis, meaning that it's going to have sports in perpetuity. 24/7 sports events, gridiron, dancing, football, volleyball, boxing, gymnastics, all integrated sports of all kinds, 24/7 on the Canadian-US border, with the universities, the colleges. My workout training program system, which I've created, is going to be 24/7 sessions from the Dragon Army. Pledge your allegiance. We're going to create the public-private partnership. Call your roll, willingly loving. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Pledge your allegiance to our family. We're going to get 51 legions, mobilize 1% of the population from existing security forces and the security apparatus which exist in the mobilization of the population of 1%. And we're going to, of course, have 51 legions, or 63 for the 13 Canadian ones, and the 50 existing in the United States, and mobilize for security service and defense only. Integrate for security service and defense only, for security service and defense only, and emergency response, security service and defense only, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That's all we're gonna do, and that's all we gotta get drilling. Thank you, truckers. What a beautiful white one. I love red, but this one's kind of nice also, Freightliner. So I'm always thinking about the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, those in the daycares who change some of those diapers. You know, gotta send some LoveEvent that way also. From the ground to the bottom, from the bottom to the mountain to the skyscrapers, and the electricians and the plumbers and the construction workers who are gonna build the Forgotten Goddess Temple. I credit trillions of kisses for the building thereof of the Forgotten Goddess Temple and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. The North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and of course the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. And with that, we're gonna build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum. Is going to be 11 times bigger than the football stadium where the Hardball Ball, aka Blackout Ball, was played, and the Forgotten Goddess Temple, or the Goddess Temple of the Goddess of trillions of names. And not only with that, but we're going to also build the House of the Dragon, pyramid, crimson, scarlet, crimson, scarlet or crimson, scarlet or crimson. Our shades are red, basically. Crimson and scarlet, our shades are red. And we're going to build the pyramid for the House of the Dragon. We're going to get the pyramid for yours truly. And we're going to build also the fourth building which I will to build, the Rainbow People's Palace, the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community in the 21st century. Non-sectarian Dancing Goddess Dragon Kingdom is fundamentally a call to all willingly loving. Pledge your allegiance as I go towards Orion. There's Orion. 1, 2, 3, 4 stars in a rectangle, like crooked a bit, and 3 there. And let's say where's Scorpio. So Scorpio, then this has to be, there it is, right there. Split. So I'm gonna go going towards Orion, towards the river. I want to feel the water a little bit, and then gonna turn around the bow, get back to my headquarters, and now we're going towards Orion. And when I'm gonna come back, because now we're heading west. That's south. That is south. That's west. That's north, and that's east. So Scorpio is in the east now, and Orion is right above as I'm heading towards it. There, that's Orion. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 3, and there's Scorpio. Scorpio's right there, see? Scorpio's right there. Scorpio. It's not that visible, but that's it. So the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the North American Collective Civilizational Complex. And yours truly here, Adrian Hanna Dragon. Got a little bit of wood crooked. Reborn during this COVID, and Quebec, Canadian, North American. Personally do not consider myself a member of a diaspora. This is my home. I was born in the United States 3 times post 70-76. Once as a woman, twice as a man. I served in the United States Armed Forces twice. Those wars were 156 years apart. Were 156 years apart. 156 years apart. The wars, but here I am now. You know, being that is 156 years apart, and gonna get for that border is we're gonna get rid of it. Get rid of the border. Create a common passport, and we got to do a great census. A great North American collective census, Canada, US. See who's been living here since 2020, 2017, 2020, 2017, 2020. Since 2020, 2017, 2020, 2017. Or 5 years minimum, preferably 7 years, and assess certain linguistic capabilities. Here we love our French language. Myself included. Hey, gotta get down 9 million plus Quebecers, 40 plus million Canadians. I think we're at 44 now, with the record-breaking immigration, 44 million. We've reached 44, or we're close to 45 now. Close to 45. Open question, because got a lot of millions in the past 5 years, and record-breaking new arrivals, which all who come here and this North American collective are my brothers and sisters, and join to build the new world here as we continue to build and rebuild. We got a lot of rebuilding to do, a lot of infrastructure, the bridges, the highways, the aqueducts below. So there's a lot of arbeit, and there's a lot of work to be done with that. So that is something we got to do, So it's hoo truckers, maybe embarking on a new journey, start a business, and we got to get that public-private partnership. It's not all about the money. Dragonomy fundamentally is a public-private partnership call, as it is my Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom for the North American collective first and foremost. As I am a North American Canadian Quebecer, was born in the United States 3 times. Once as a woman, twice as a man. You get that 50-50 now. Androgynous, pansexual, Asp, got at Asperger's. I'm neurodivergent, part of this tiny minority of 0.44% of citizens who live with this neurodivergence, and which makes me, like many Aspies, super intense, super focused, super concentration and intensity, concentration, and we're in it, super concentrated focus when we are involved in those specific interests, which fitness and sports. Dancing is my favorite fitness and sport activity. I love marching, and I always do a little bit of dance with my tongue, with my head, with my toes, with my feet, with my body now. Although the camera is pointing towards the building and the apparatus of the civilizational complex here. Civilization, there is civilization one-on-one. Thank you, hydroelectric workers, Hydro-Quebec workers. We're going to need to build more dams with that. And here we got, this one could be converted and redone for the Dragonomy with those new legions and the mobilization of 1 percentile and the building of a new only and solely for the purpose for the North American collective first and foremost. Security, service and defense. SS, security, service and defense. Services with consent and hygiene, and with the principle the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose and health and wellness. It starts with gratitude, and encourage you all to work out, train, exercise, and it's going to be for security, service and defense. Security, service and defense is going to be for security, service and defense. Security, service and defense. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and building those 44 tunnels. And that's why we also need to get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act Canada and the US joined Dragon Army with 51 legions, or 63. 63 in case we split Canada 13 parts. But we need to get that executive order for the public health care. Granddaddy Trump, Dragon Fist is gonna make that nose grow like Pinocchio's. Granddaddy Trump, Daddy's Dragon's fists are gonna make Granddaddy Trump's nose grow like Pinocchio's. Granddaddy Trump, Dragon's fists are gonna make Trump's nose grow like Pinocchio's. And we gotta get that DRT. And we're gonna get together. We're gonna get together and fight on the Canadian-US border, and that's gonna be the first inauguration for the building of that complex, mega coliseum. Canada, United States joined, where NHL, NFL, NBA, all sports, university sports, fitness sports, gymnastics, 24/7. My workout training program system for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the truckers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, all those involved in the production and the distribution of food, all those production, farmers, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors. It takes the public and the private. So fundamentally my call is for a PPP, public-private partnership, for the North American Collective Civilisation complex, fusing Canada and the United States via a public-private partnership fundamentally. And my brothers and sisters, fellow Canadians, with LOV are my family, but the king is absent. The king is absent. The king is absent. Prime Minister pledges allegiance to the King. Pledges allegiance to the King. The Prime Minister pledges allegiance to the King of England. This King is absent. The King is absent. We have a major crisis. Our first fundamental geopolitical interest is to have the best friendly familiar relations with the United States, our brothers and sisters. Big brother, little brother, big brother, little brother, big brother, little brother, big sister, little sister, big sister, little sister, big sister, little sister. And fuse, it's our destiny. As we evolve, of course, as our laws evolve, as our constitution evolves, as corporations have evolved, and now we gotta balance the public and the private by my trinity of theories, as I am a democratic Republican, a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. My revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, CIT, citizen integration theory, CIT, citizen integration theory, DRT, debt refusion theory, DRT, debt refusion theory, DRT, debt refusion theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory, for the collective North American civilizational complex, as we are here. We are here in the new North American collective, and we got to get on that DRT, debt refusion theory, and farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, grocery store clerks. Got to send some loving dollars now to those flipping some burgers, some cheeseburgers, some hamburgers in the fast food across the North American collective, flipping some of those burgers, making those deliveries for those pizzas, making $1 there. Millionaires, billionaires, don't be so selfish. Give some charity and mass finance. Wall Street. Millionaires, billionaires, ASAP. Finance those public workers, sanitation workers of Canada, both Canada, US, the North American collective. But us North here, we're gonna fuse the North, true North, strong and free, with the South. United States is South, us North. Canada is the North, United States is the South. In this geopolitical context, it's basically the North and the South. And then we're gonna do that drill, and we're gonna get that UE. We're gonna implement my trinity of theories, and we're gonna get the Dragon Army with the legions as subcourts, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, defense, security, and service, and build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, the biggest ever sports complex ever. Build the biggest sports complex ever. Canada, US joy, let's build together public-private partnership for the septennium, the biggest sports complex ever on the Canadian-US border, to have sportus in perpetuitas, sports and fitness in perpetuity, sports and fitness in perpetuity, 24/7 sports activity in that Coliseum, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the true North, strong and free, with the home of the brave and the land of the free. Is not enough. Got ads, add, ADD, add some, love. Gotta add some love, you know. Gotta add some of that love, you know. So that's all we gotta do. We gotta add some of that loving, and we gotta add some of that loving with it. So it's something which we gotta do now, and we gotta do it today. It starts with me this March, and that's all we gotta do, you know. And Pledge your allegiance to our family. That is the song. Rock and roll song as we move, you know, to going towards that Orion. And as we're healing together, we're gonna rebuild the North American inner urban cities, aka the ghettos, and gonna get that Dragon versus Trump, me fighting Donald Trump on the Canadian-US border for the first event for the inauguration of this mega coliseum for 24/7 sports in perpetuitas. Sportis in perpetuitas, that's kind of Latin, as many of our mottos, including the motto of Montreal, is Concordia Salus, which is Latin. This is Canada's motto. Ad Mario and Masca and Mare, Ad Mario Masca Mare, Ad Mario Masca Mare is Latin from sea to sea, or ocean to ocean, from sea to sea. Mare is more sea. Mare is more sea. Ocean to ocean, Mare is more sea. Because, of course, there was different times in Latin relationship with the body of waters, you know. So I guess ocean would be Oceanus, but Mare is more for sea. From sea to sea, that's the motto, kind of. And United States is Annuit Coeptus, or a pluribus unum animus coeptus, and both a pluribus unum and animus coeptus are used, you know. And as a matter of fact, I have that motto, Annuit Coeptus, tatted up, as I have Canada and the Maple Leaf. I got Canada and the Maple Leaf. Tatted up on the right arm. Don't ask me when, how, who. Don't ask me when, how, who. Somebody's getting tatted now, maybe in New York. I know from my writings, from my journals, and I know during 9/11, I was finishing high school and we were let go from school. We were told let go, but mostly from journals. But my memories got that retrograde. I'm just kind of blackouts, you know. Just I remember mostly fully the past like 7+ years, but just my memory kind of blurs after I moved a few years ago, more than seven, 8, 9, maybe 10, from that moldy place, and I started working out, training, exercising, and I crossed Canada coast to coast. Before that, 2017, I was depressed, I was suicidal, and that event really transformed my whole life. Crossing Canada coast to coast, if you take a few days by bus from Montreal to Vancouver, BC, it took 3.5 days by bus. 3.5 days by bus. So crossing Canada, coast to coast. That made me come out of being depressed, being suicidal, and establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. To our family, pledge your allegiance, and consider Quebecers Canadians, and my brothers and sisters in the USA family. Sometimes we got that little bit of that left, right, and center. Tough times in the past years, it's tough times today with the tariffs. It's not the way to go. Should have invited us properly by baking some pies across the 50 states. Bake cherry pie, peach pie, orange pie, apple pie, strawberry pies. Bake some good pies. Do some little bit of that cheerleading. Join us. The union, do some marching bands with some trumpets, with some dancing. That's the way to invite us, not by tiresome bullying. Dragon versus Trump, and I'm still challenging Donald Trump, as a Democratic Republican, and the king is absent, brothers and sisters. We need to get that typical North American Union vis-a-vis parallel the European Union, and make some compromises, make some concessions, and we evolved, our legislature evolves, our judiciary evolves, our policing got to be more service, and we got to get a lot of defense coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Now we really got to do the census, a great North American census, because we got to do that census and give a new common ID, Canada, United States joint, and it's better we get rid of the border for security, service, and defense, because your resources on the border is kind of a little bit wasteful at this point in time. We just got to focus on the ports and the airports. The ports and the airports best. The ports and the airports. Direct security there to the ports and the airports, because the border, the ports and the airports, that's a lot of ways so big. But we have to do that census. Great census, and give a new ID, great census, and get that total surveillance, and for total implementation of insurance of freedom, total implementation for ensuring freedom, which the Dragon Army, with his new legions, with 51 or 63. If we get Canada 13 or one big one, we get 1% of the population nonetheless, because for each state we're going to mobilize, or from existing or past security forces or armed forces, get the 1% for the formation of this new Dragon Army for the 21st century, for security, service, and purpose only. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, are rebuilding the North American Imperial, rebuilding the North American inner urban cities. aka the ghettos, the ghettos of North America. That's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get building, and encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and here we get this bridge. I just get some loving for this bridge. There's some affection, some type of love that I have for the bridge here, for the bridge here. You know, we gotta get it on the XYZ for the bridge here. You know, so that's what we gotta get doing. You know. Imagine how much labor, and it's now how much labor just to build the bridge here, you know. The public workers who build the bridge, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta build on the bridges now, and sometimes that's what we gotta do. Build more bridges, as I also have to do bridges, build bridges constantly, because I'm neurodivergent. Asperger's is not a mental illness, it's a neurodivergence. So myself, I constantly have to build bridges of understanding, of working together, because there's a lot of misunderstandings. What my neurological mental divergent condition is, known as Asperger's, it's often confluenced and misunderstood and labeled as a mental illness, as a disease, but it's not. It's just our brains are different. Our brains are made different. So we have these brains, this brain which makes us, like I said, predisposed to special interest, but also paradoxically we are less able, myself included, as an individual ASPE, part of this tiny minority of 0.44%, less than half of a percentile, less than 1% of people have Asperger's. So it's a rare. The condition is rare. A neurological mental divergent condition, not NOT, not a mental illness. It's just our brains are different. So we are less able in the social sphere. We're less able in knowledge, in the social mannerisms and protocols. For example, when to speak, when to do certain things, and we can breach personal space. That's, for example, an ASPE, speaking myself as an individual ASPE, but it's a common characteristics, could breach personal space and get so close to a fellow citizen when speaking, close to 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, very close to the person that we're dialoguing, we're discussing with. And that can be intimidating, right? Because a lot of citizens, the majority, 99% plus, 99% plus are respecting that. And I also, myself as an aspirant, constantly I have to work on it. It's a constant thing that I have to work on that, and to apply it. Because it doesn't come easy for us as it comes for the majority of 99%+. It's just this neurodivergence that I live with it, eh? So, but there's our strengths, which revolve around the special interest. And in geopolitics, no matter how much I know about the geopolitics world and whatever I say, I speak from a North American perspective, because I never lived Russia or Ukraine, at least in this lifetime. As much as I know from the news. I haven't been for a few weeks, months, or days with 300 men or women on the ground to really inspect, as I haven't been in Israel and Palestine to inspect 300 men or women, nor in potentially China and Taiwan, which is another conflict on the horizon. I do know that we have on the horizon a potential public financial collapse of Canada due to the fact that our interest payments have more than doubled on the public debt. That I know, because in geopolitics you got to study a little bit of finance. My own financial situation is precarious. I had many employments, many jobs, especially during COVID, which I loved, So having loved those employments, also sometimes for a few weeks, a few months, but many ASPEs high. The unemployment among ASPEs is very high. Unfortunately, it is very high. But we can be very, very dedicated and very good at certain things. It's just things such as more the social aspect can be very, very difficult to correlate. It requires a strong effort. For example, things as gossip comes hard to ASPEs. It's something which we do not fully understand because we're neurodivergent, and so it's those things which are kind of expected in society, social norms and conventions, which come very hard for us because our brains are made different. So we can be very direct, sometimes seemingly rude, abrasive, offensive, direct. Offensive, direct, rude, or abrasive. We can seem offensive, rude, or abrasive, or direct, but it's not something that we can be offensive, rude, and direct. It's not something that it's by volition or maliciousness, being malicious. It's just that our brains are different. So, for example, somebody might ask me, like myself, and speaking of myself from an individual aspect perspective, how are you? And you know, my friend laughs sometimes, said, you don't have to say that, eh? It will say how I am. If I am financially stressed, I'll say I'm financially stressed, I'm moody, or not so good. Well, the expectation is to say I'm good, how are you, I'm good, you know? It's just the way, but and ask me, might respond exactly how he, she, they feel or are or predisposed or whatever, you know? So that's can seem weird, you know? But it's just Asperger's we can be very weirdos and strange, and you know, there's a lot of suffering and bullying, and among Ashby suffer a lot, and we're part of this tiny minority, but we have our strengths, quite super abilities, especially in those special interests, of which myself geopolitics. And now, due to the curse of Asperger's, I'm going to be on the topic of the DRT, the debt refusion theory. The DRT, the debt refusion theory. So how come I'm making the statement that my DRT theory, in past videos and in this one, which I'll make now, my DRT, standing for debt refusion theory, is the only solution, or something very similar to my debt refusion theory is the solution. Well, we are now at this point in time with the financial situation where we are now, both the public and the private, you know, both in the public and the private situation. So my statement is due to the fact that last year in 2024, the amount of interest paid on the public debt of Canada was 46.5 billion. 46.5 billion. Now correlate that. A billion has 9 zeros. 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 So due to the fact that 1 billion has 9 zeros, due to the fact that a billion has 9 zeros, that is the fact that, of course, a billion has 9 zeros. That is the fact that it's 1,000 million, right? So 46.5 billion, that's 46,000 million, 46,500 million, which we paid fiscal year 2023, 2024. So correlate that number. That is a huge mega number. Just the interest, you can check these numbers with the Bank of Canada. Auntie Freeland resigned, and you know, now is the XYZ, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing on that go, you know. So it's something which we XYZ to get it on the go, you know, to get it on the do with that. So that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and the correlation thereof is that, of course, the proposition is that, of course, there's a black swan event on the horizon, meaning that it cannot be sustainable and possible tomorrow. A public financial collapse of Canada commences. If it hasn't commenced already, started already. Because just like an individual whose payments and interest, let's say citizen XYZ, men, women, trans, whatever the case may be, this is mathematical financial principles. They apply. So being that they're mathematical financial principles, and mathematical financial principles, you know, being that they are mathematical financial principles, that is, of course, something which we have to do. So being that they're mathematical financial principles, those are the principles which apply now. So an individual citizen XYZ whose interest payments in 2020, 2021 were $156. Personally, myself, I do not have credit cards. I don't have credit cards. I have a credit line, and I show it on my videos. You know, I pay Thank goodness, thank goddess, thank Tiff Macklin, it lowered the interest rate, so it got by 0.5%. I used to pay 10.9%, almost 11. Now it's 10.44, 10.44. So 10.44 on $10,000 in debt. $10,000 I owe on the credit line to the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, to the RBC. So I am financially stressed with this. I got a debt of 10,000 minus about $13 or so, so almost 10,000. Let's round it up to 10,000, right? Because it's only by like $13. It's like 9,987 or something like that. So it's close to 10,000, right? So let's round it up. So then I pay 10.44 annual interest, not monthly. monthly interest on that would have been crazy. It would have been $1,000 a month. No, it's not that. It's annual interest rates. But some credit cards are 15.6, 18, 19, 20, 22.44. 23, 24, 25.44, 25.44, 25.44 or more, 26% interest, you know. So the point is that if an individual citizen interest payments more than double in 3 years, as is the case for the public Canadian debt, so that means that to sustain the current expenses and current expenditures, one has to cut, one has to reduce, one has to cut, one has to reduce the spending. One has to reduce the spending. One has to reduce the spending. Whatever he, she, they spend, the money, whatever he, she, they spend, the money. Whatever he, she, they spend, the money, whatever he, she, they spend in the money, that it says they're spending on the money, you know. So that's what it is with that. That's what it is with the XYZ, whatever the case may be. So that is the amount of whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. So that is something which we gotta be on the mind. Which we gotta be on the mind with that. So the point is that, of course, this, if a citizen interest payments jumps from $156 to $333, which is more than double, because that's what happened with the interest payments on the Canadian public debt. They got more than doubled. So 156 double is 312. So 333 is more than double 156, right? So if it jumps from $156 to 333, citizen has to cut, spend, reduce. How many salaries do you know have doubled? The average salary increase between 2020 and 2025 in 5 years has been 4.4%. 4.4%, while the majority of eggs, bacon, and the consumer goods have about more 44.9% average increase, about 44.9% average increase, 44.9%. So that's the problem now, because there has been labor movements and some gains in the labor and better wages. Where's that executive order for the raising of the minimum wage? Mr. President, where's that executive order for the raising of the minimum wage, Mr. President? Where's that executive order for the raising of the minimum wage, Mr. President? And that's the problem with the prices increasing, that it is not sustainable. So exactly the same parallel financial mathematical principles is a citizen's interest payments. If they more than doubled, that means one has to reduce the spending, reduce the costs, reduce the spending. Has to make, what are you going to cut? Or hypothetically, citizen XYZ, cut Netflix, or cut Netflix, cut going out to the movies, cut to reduce spending, don't buy sausages anymore, buy whatever, buy less, don't smoke pot anymore. Cannabis is legal in Canada, coast to coast, by the way. Federally, all Canada is legal cannabis consumption or liquors. Cut, reduce the budget, reduce maybe the phone plans from $44, get one like mine for only $25. From $44 to get one like mine for only $25. For only $25 monthly, I pay only $25 monthly. Me, $25. You got to reduce it if it's close to $45, $44.89, let's say, $44.89. Got to get it to what I pay, $45.44, $45.44, $45.44, $45.44. If you have it, that's almost half. You have to reduce. The citizen has to reduce. It's the same principle, mathematical financial principle with the public finance of Canada. Exactly. Because it's due to the fact that our economy, the GDP has not doubled. It takes decades for a GDP and economy to double, right? So that's, you see? But the interest payments have more than doubled in just 3 years. And yes, due to COVID, which I had, and it was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was when we had it, it was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. When I say COVID for me was like death, pestilence, and disease, I know that it sounds like a death, hardcore, trash, death metal, trash, rock and roll, death metal, trash song, like an album, but that's how I felt like when I survived it 5 years ago, celebrating now with this march and all the sweets when I get back at midnight, you know. So, and the DRT comes on the table. That refusion theory is the solution, or something very similar, which resembles my DRT theory, is the only solution. You can argue all you want, but is the only solution, is the only solution, is the only solution. So that's what it is with that. That's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. So it's something which is the principles of mathematics, and we are on the verge of a public financial collapse in Canada. Maybe started tomorrow. It's going to be announced on the news. 20th of March, first day of the spring equinox, I guess. First day of March, whatever the case may be. So that's what it is with that, and that's what we're gonna be doing, you know. So that's what we're gonna get doing with that. So something which we gotta get doing with that. So something which we gotta get on the do, you know, and something which we gotta circumvent and circumdo, you know. Something which we gotta be attentive to. So we gotta get doing on that, and gotta get doing on the XYZ to get done with that, you know. So which we gotta get doing on that. So we gotta get on the love. So that's what we gotta get, you know. The lovers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, you know. So it's something which we gotta be mindful of, you know, and mindful of that, you know. So we gotta get doing it. The DRT, that refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, and so we gotta get the debt refusion theory. There's no other way out of this. There's no other way out of this but the debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing now. The DRT, debt refusion theory. We're on the verge of public financial collapse. There's no way out of this. There's no way out of this. There's no way out of this, you know. Because there's somebody kissing, making love. Oh yes, I think so. Hey, yes. That's good. I saw somebody on the corner. That makes me happy. They started hugging, kissing. It wasn't that visible in the car mirror, but yes, that's good. Black, white, and rainbow. I'm gonna card you if you wanna come LOV with me, you know. Black, white, and rainbow. I'm gonna card you. If you come on with me, I'm gonna card you. Come on with me. Nobody comes back, man. Nobody comes back. That's all we're doing, man. Anyways, DRT, that refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange unit, the UE. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. And again, you can argue all you want, but there is no way out of this now. It's one of emergency. So the DRT, which includes monetary integration theory, My debt refusion theory integrated in my DRT. Debt refusion theory is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory, which was implemented in the European Union, 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 in the European Union, in the European Union, in the European Union. So being that that was implemented in the European Union, they got rid of the old Germans, they destroyed their national central banks, Italians as well, the French, many countries, they destroyed their national central banks in the 90s, so that's what it is now. And in the 90s they destroyed their national central banks, in the 90s, they destroyed their old central banks, and of course now they have a common central bank. The ECB is a central bank for many nation states, the European Central Bank. So that they did in the 90s, and they annulled their old currency and they put into circulation the euro, which is a common currency, money, which is common for many countries in the European Union. And the common central bank, they destroyed they don't have national central banks anymore in Germany, like we have. The Bank of Canada acts as the national central banks, and the Federal Reserve also is a national central bank, although it's called the Federal Reserve, right? Concerned with monetary policy and printing money and whatever they call the jazz of the fundamental principles of a central bank, which kind of operate very similarly. Because fundamentally, money enable us to buy, sell. Fundamentally, in essence. We have a lot of illusions about money and interest. Interest is the problem, not the debt. Interest is the problem, not the debt. The debt per se is not the problem, it's the interest. That's why the DRT, we're going to implement the DRT, Canada, United States simultaneously. Canada, United States simultaneously, we're in the same parallel financial situation. But of course, we're in a financial parallel situation, financial power situation, but we're going to implement the DRT, debt refusion theory, and we're going to create this new currency, and we're going to set an interest rate level of 10% max. So here's the DRT explained, which includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory, which was implemented in the European Union decades ago, a long time ago. In the 90s, it started slowly after the Second World War, but in the 90s, it got established, the ECB. So again, there's no solution. We are on the verge of a catastrophe, public financial collapse of Canada. So it is what it is, and it's a tough dictum with it, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we have to be on the verge for. We have to implement it ASAP. It starts with me discussing it. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, my $10,000 included, convert all the Canadian public private debt to US dollars, into US dollars, added with the US dollar, added with the United States dollar, added up together, both the public private debt of Canada and US and all the money in circulation. We're going to add it up. We're going to create a new central bank. Of course, it could be extended to other countries joining. Mexico is part of the North American Collective of North America. Haiti. Cuba is a paradox though. But Cuba is part of North America, although they have a paradox, socialist, communist, Marxist, Leninist, Che Guevarist, socialist, one-party state system. And of course, my vision is PPP. My dream is PPP based, public-private partnership, and because we cannot repress the collective nor the individual by the collective by an individual, nor the individual by the collective. So that's the fundamental equilibrium of the 21st century. So all the public-private debt converted to the US dollar of Canada, coast to coast, add it all up. That number is going to be the initial money supply for this new central bank, and we're going to issue a new currency, because that is the new currency we're going to call the UE, the universal exchange unit. So U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, U dot universal, E dot unit, universal exchange unit, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange U dot unit. The universal exchange is going to be put an interest rate level of 10%. So it's not going to be able to have more than 10% after that on all loans, credit cards, bank loans, whatever the case may be. It's going to be 10%. So the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange U dot unit, the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange U dot unit, the UE, the universal exchange is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to start it and we're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. 10%. It could be below, of course, 3.33, 1.56, 6.1, 7.7, 9.3, 4.18, 7.8, whatever the case may be. But it's now going to be able to be more than 10. Then it's going to be maximum. Then it's going to be maximum. And here we are by the water. We're going to go see a little bit of the water and then go back and go by the water there. So here we are, the Lachine Canal, historical canal. So the debt refusion here, we're going to take all the public and the private debt. That's going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. The initial money supply for a new central bank. We're going to issue this new currency called the UE, Universal Exchange. And with that money, we're going to be rebuilding the North American infrastructure of the Collectif, the highways, the aqueducts, the sewers. We're going to build those 44 tunnels, stack them with food, concrete reinforced in case of a thermonuclear war. Start building those 44 tunnels, and we're going to have to build those 44 tunnels. We're going to have to start building ASAP. Give, of course, some amnesty to the incarcerated population of the North American Collectif. Get some redemption by action, by justice, some redemption by action. I had my second chances, even third, and if I would have stayed where I used to live, I would have probably been dead or in jail. Spent many years in one foot on the streets, one foot in the libraries, read tens of thousands of books, written tens of thousands of philosophies concerning the building of those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war and for the continuity of the North American citizen incarcerated, for the survival of the North American civilizational complex, and another one on the North American Rehabilitation Act for the Public-Private Partnership Citizen Integrated North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, and for the fundamentally Public-Private Partnership. And that's what we got to get doing with that. That's what we got to get on that solution, So solutions to the problem, the DRT, debt refusion theory, parallel to the CIT, citizen integration theory, the democratic fusion theory, DFT, and of course, to get the DRT and to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions. With that money, with the implementation of my DRT theory, we're going to be able to build those 44 tunnels, mass rebuild the infrastructure, build more hydroelectric dams, mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, 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 and mass finance fitness activity, tourism, because it did me lots of good. It did me lots of good. So did me lots of good. Crossing Canada coast to coast, crossing Canada coast to coast, crossing Canada coast to coast. So that's what we're gonna have to do, and that's what we're gonna be doing, So here we're gonna go by there, say hello a little bit to the river, and then we see a little bit of a big river there. We're gonna check it close, switch to that French because we're in La Belle Province. So once again, the DRT, the CIT. With that DRT implemented, we're going to be rebuilding the infrastructure, the highways, the aqueducts, rebuilding more hydroelectric dams, more rebuilding infrastructure, for mass finance the building of the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, mass finance the building of the Forgotten Goddess Temple, mass finance the building of the North American Imperial Coliseum, and mass finance the rebuilding and the doing, of course, so whatever needs to be doing with the problematic situation where we're in the geopolitics on the verge of World War III, and possible, of course, scenarios of potential invasion and whatever the case may be, to get it on to do with that. And that's all we gotta get doing with the LOVE, and we gotta get doing it and the XYZ, so that's what we gotta get doing with the LOVE, so we gotta get doing with that. So it's something which they gotta do, so something which they got an explanation, and for the XYZ for getting on to do, and that's all we gotta get doing on that, So the debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE is something which we gotta be on the proposition now to get it on the LOV to get it on the now, and sometimes which we gotta get on the do, and something which you gotta just do. and implement, something which has to be implemented. There's no way around the situation now. It's on the verge of public catastrophe with the finances, and the numbers are the financial mathematical principium. So they are mathematics, mathematical financial principles, and that's what it is. The DRT is the only solution. There's no solution. There's the river. I feel good. That's why I decided to be instead of the mountain to come to the river. See how big. Usually in my past videos you see it during the day, sunrise or sunset, but here we are. We made it to the river. Last day of winter 2025. Oh, it got a cool breeze. It just cooled down by like 7 degrees. It just, wow, close, because there's still some ice patches on the side, but by the river just got a cool breeze here. It just was hot there, so just there, 44 meters away, was just so hot. And here, this, you don't see it that well, but there's the Pont Bridge. You don't see it. I don't see it either. You see the flashing red lights, and that's the bridge, Mercier Bridge, to go to Chateauguay, Kanawagi. And there you see patches. I don't know how visible are in the camera, not that well, but I see with the eyes, because I see a lot of good in the dark. But there's patches of ice. So the patches of ice and the freezing makes it that I feel now the breeze. I feel the coolness. You see, I'm right above Scorpio. I am right above Scorpio there. Scorpio, see how it goes with the Scorpio. The constellation, which is exactly opposite, adjacent to D. Now I'm turned versus Orion. So Orion is to my left. Scorpio is right on the other side, to my right. So I got Orion. Scorpio with the reddish Antares. So here we are. We're gonna go back now. It's just amazing how it hit a coolness, like a breeze, almost cold. COLD. Very cold, actually. Wow, it gets colder. And you see the blocks of ice, probably because at the breeze, and there's blocks of ice just moving, they're going east, because the river is going towards the ocean, right? It's going east, coming from the Great Lakes, flowing east. The river now is flowing east, right? So the patches of ice, big ice patches probably coming. Maybe they traveled all the way from the Great Lakes. And this morning, sunrise, somebody maybe saw them right there in Michigan, Detroit, all the way to the Great Lakes. And now we're gonna go back to my headquarters, and there's on the other side is Chateauguay, Kanawaki, just to situate where we are, at the Lachine Canal here presently. So the DRT, Detro Fusion Theory. Now it's time to head back to my head, but it just got so cold, close to the river. So the closer I got to the river, big river, huge mega river, which surrounds the whole metropolis island of population of 2.5 million. Metropolis Montreal Hawk Island is super populated. The population is 2.5 million people. It was the first most populated for many hundreds of years, the most populated in North America, and decades in Canada and North America, until about 2010, 2007, 2010, 2012, question mark, when Toronto became the most populated city in Canada. But Montreal is about 7th or 8th top 10, when including even Mexico City of Mexico is very populated, but Montreal is still in the top 10 most populated metropolises. It's a big island surrounded by a big river and a big city metropolis, so huge, It's huge mega city. Top 10, it's 7th or 8th in North America in the population, and I guess with the population also the area, because it's an island surrounded by a big river, which we were just at the river there, St. Lawrence. You see in my other videos, I come during the day here, and you kind of can situate a bit from what you see, So we got great cities in North America, small, big, medium, and by the implementation of my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, we're going to also mass finance tourism. Canadians to go in the US and USarians to come in Canada, as we're going to fuse the North and South. And of course, mass finance tourism, fitness, and rebuild the infrastructure, build those 44 tunnels, and complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dancing Goddess Army, DGA, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, the North American Integrated Dance League with the Dragon Army, the Dragon Dragon Army, with the new legions, public-private partnership, complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for the 21st century for purpose, security, and defense, and for the DGA Dancing Goddess Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, to plant trees, and clean the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, do environmental education and work, do environmental education and work, and do environmental education and work, and do that environmental education and work, do environmental education and work. And the DGA, that's the North American Integrated Dance League, to dance and build that forgotten goddess temple. And the Dragon Army, to be for security, service, and defense, security, service, and defense only. That's to be totally understood, that the purpose will be only for security, service, and defense, solely and only. Main purpose of the Dragon Army. As here we are, and we're just gonna go roundabout a bit and by the river, and then we're gonna kind of go straight in. And there's a place there, which when I have money, it's only Quebec wines from Quebec. There's a place in a corner there, probably closed now because it's 10 and it's Wednesday. But nonetheless, there's a place there, a few streets away, where there's a Quebec wine, only Quebec made wine in Quebec. And I'm not gonna go through there, I'm gonna go to that side. So that's it for that English. And again, grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. And working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. It's pledge your allegiance, always thinking about the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And super important for the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and all those, of course, to do it on the go now. And that's how we gotta get doing, to get it on the XYZ and get it on the LoveEvent side of things, so it's something which we gotta be doing, it's something which we gotta be meditating about. Here's a historical era, now it's getting hot again. It was very strange, weird, awkward, but it makes sense because a lot of ice patches were traveling, going east. As you can see, there's still ice here, but this is part of the river here, which was diverted, of course, but it was strange, and I don't think I ever witnessed that before. On the day we hit maybe a record, it was 18 at one point, 18 degrees, maybe a record for 19th of March. Gotta see if we hit a record, maybe we're gonna hear about tomorrow, because I checked the phone, one point was 18. I said 18 degrees, 19th of March. It's supposed to be like 10, 7, 6 even, below 10, I'm assuming, but nonetheless. Oh, stars in the sky. You're gonna get to that, a little bit of that French rock and roll, English rock and roll, and here we are. That's the river, La Chine Canal, and now we're just gonna go by there, and the canal is diverted here, and I'm gonna switch it to that French. Dragon versus Trump, let's go. Support the implementation of my DRT, the debt refusion tier, or something very, very similar is the only solution. You can argue all you want, but fundamentally there's no way out of where we are now with the financial situation where we are now. There's just no way, there's just no way out of the current financial situation. There's no way, because we pay a record amount of debt, of interest on the debt, record amount of interest on the public debt, and much of the public and the private financial situation is very similar. It's very similar. So much of the public public-private partnership, which of course we gotta do, we gotta implement, so that's all we gotta get doing, and which we gotta get that LOV, and I gotta say I like this blue, so beautiful. It's quite gorgeous, and quite gorgeous, gotta say. Just LOV. The blue, and I'm just gonna go. Where's that store? But that store's closed. I'm not gonna go. It's closed anyways. But again, Dragon versus Trump. I'm celebrating 5 years since I had COVID, celebrating being depressed, suicidal, being reborn. Adrian Hanna Dragon, keep my holy sacred name out of your mouth. Not for a blessing, Adrian Hanna Dragon, keep my holy sacred name out of your mouth. If it's not for a blessing, keep my holy sacred name out of your mouth. Adrian Hanna Dragon, if it's not for a blessing, keep my holy, sacred, and divine name out of your mouth. If it's not for a blessing, keep my holy, sacred, and divine name, being reborn, Adrian Hanna Dragon, out of your mouth. If it's not for a blessing, otherwise it'll be pestilence. So if you have an understanding. French, bienvenue à de ces célébrations que je célèbre la victoire sur la COVID. J'ai eu la COVID en 2020, entre le 7 février 2020 et le 28-29 mars. Commencé à me guérir. J'ai eu la COVID, c'était vraiment comme la mort, la pestilence puis la maladie. C'était vraiment comme la mort, la pestilence puis la maladie. Je dis souvent, je pensais que j'allais mourir, mais je dis souvent, mais je suis mort de la COVID. Je suis mort de la COVID en 2020. Il n'y a rien que je veux retourner en arrière, mais c'est quelque chose que je me ressentais. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence puis la maladie. C'était vraiment comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie. C'était vraiment comme la mort, la pestilence puis la maladie. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence puis la maladie, vraiment. Là. Je sais que ça ressemble, quand je dis ça, comme une chanson de rock and roll, de heavy metal. Du rock and roll un peu sévère, un peu metal, trash metal, là, du trash metal, rock and roll, un peu dans trash metal ou heavy metal, heavy metal, rock and roll, plus un peu hardcore metal, là, du metal, du rock and roll. Ben, quand je dis que c'était comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie, ben, parce que je suis vraiment mort de la COVID. Hey, c'est des chats, c'est des chats. J'ai des visions. Je pense qu'il faut que j'aille encore une optométriste pour voir, mais ah ouais. Je pensais que c'était ça, j'étais pas sûr, mais il y avait des chats quand même, tu sais. Il y avait des chats qui me regardaient, mais j'étais pas sûr. Fait que j'ai dit, c'est-tu des chats? C'est pas des chats, mais c'est quelque chose qu'il faut que je voie, bien sûr, pour le faire, tu sais. Dans ces choses de l'affaire, puis dans l'affaire, puis des choses, bien sûr, qui ont fait pour le faire, bien sûr, dans cette convergence. Donc, c'est là, je pense. Je vais aller faire des vérifications, mais je pense que c'est là. C'est une place, il y a du vin du Québec. Canadien, québécois. Je pense que c'est ici. Je suis pas sûr. Ouais, exact. C'est ça que je cherchais, mais il n'est pas ouvert, là. Mais si vous voulez des produits du Québec, du Canada, ici, c'est la place. Comptoir, comment ça s'appelle? C'est 1000. Fermé lundi, vendredi. OK, il ferme tôt. Le matin, il ouvre 7 à 17. So this is the place for Quebec or Canadian wine. Quebec or Canadian wine is 1,000. Ça s'appelle le comptoir Saint-Joe. Saint-Joe comptoir, épicerie gourmande. That means you can get a café. Whatever have it, but this is the comptoir. And you have wines there, see? So if you want local wines, des vins locaux, du Québec, du Canada, ben des vins, là. Fait que quand j'aurai de l'argent, c'est ça que je vais venir soutenir parce que j'aime ça le vin rouge. I like red wine. I love it. So that's all only local wine. Québec, Montréal, du vin local. Fait que c'est quand même une bonne chose, je trouve, qu'ils fassent des choses de même. Là. Ici, c'est 1000, mais c'est quoi le nom de la rue? 10e Avenue, Saint-Joseph et 10e Avenue. Saint-Joseph and 10th Avenue. 10th Avenue and Saint-Joseph. 10e Avenue et Saint-Joseph. 10e Avenue et Saint-Joseph. 10e Avenue et Saint-Joseph. La 10e Avenue et Saint-Joseph. C'est ça qui est ça. Fait que c'est ça qu'il faut faire, bien sûr, pour le faire dans ces enjeux. Mais là, c'est ça que je dis. J'ai survécu la COVID, hein, en 2020. Et c'est beau, c'est un beau verre, ça. En 2020, entre le 7 février 2020 et le 28-29 mars, j'ai commencé à me sentir mieux, là, en fin de mars. 3 derniers jours de mars, je commençais à être guéri pas mal. Ça a commencé à peu près à mi-février, là. Je dirais entre le 7 février et le 28 mars. Comme ça durait le temps, là, une durée de temps de cette longueur de plus que 44 jours, là, pour vous donner une estimation. Au tout début, dans le fond. Au tout début de la pandémie, c'est là que je me suis ressenti, bien sûr, au tout début de la pandémie, que ça soit, bien sûr, dans cette convergence qu'on a, bien sûr, de convergence, puis de point de vue, tu sais, pour le faire de ce point de vue, que soit de cette convergence de la COVID, bien sûr, qu'on a tous survécu, puis maintenant qu'on vit les temps financiers durs, bien sûr, pour la majorité des gens, puis les temps géopolitiques, puis moi-même aussi, je marche, je célèbre, pas juste avoir survécu la COVID, mais aussi en 2017, en août et en septembre, en traversant le Canada, je me suis sorti de la dépression, j'étais suicidaire, j'étais en dépression, puis cet événement, traverser le Canada, cet événement, ça m'a complètement changé ma vie. Avant ça, j'étais en dépression suicidaire, puis là, j'ai traversé le Canada, je dis quel beau pays qu'on a au Québec, au Canada, puis j'ai établi un esprit de corps solide, puis encore une fois, tellement de choses que je veux voir juste au Québec, à Montréal, au Québec, la baie James, le Québec, les deux villages de Saint-Adrien, il y en a 2 Saint-Adrien. Hein. Il y a bien des gens, des Québécois qui ne savent même pas. Des fois, je dis que je fais du matchmaking pour les mettre en couple. Moi, je joue ça noir et blanc arc-en-ciel. Là. Je suis monsieur, madame, androgène pansexuel, monsieur, madame, androgène pansexuel, mais il faut que vous ayez 18 ans, méchant. Je vais vous carter les cartes. Hein. Je vais vous carter, tu sais. Je vais vous carter, tu sais. Comme si vous voulez me faire l'amour, mais il va falloir que je vous demande vos cartes, il faut que vous avez 18 ans. Je sais que c'est quand même 16 ans, je pense, le consentement, mais moi, ça va être comme pour acheter du cannabis légal, tu sais. Même si c'est rarement que je fume moi-même, là, mais je vais appliquer ce principe. Je vous demande des cartes comme si vous allez à la société de la SDCQ, la Société du cannabis, la Société du cannabis, tu sais. Ça va être ce même principe pour que ça soit, bien sûr, dans cette convergence, pour s'asseoir, bien sûr, dans cette convergence de faisant, bien sûr, pour les faire, bien sûr, de cette convergence. Puis c'est ça, bien sûr, que c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut faire, bien sûr, dans cette affaire, cette histoire de convergence, bien sûr. Pour qu'on fasse dans cette convergence de l'amour ici. Puis c'est important d'avoir de l'amour, puis c'est important, bien sûr, d'avoir, bien sûr, dans cette convergence de faire tu sais, de rendre justice un peu. Puis moi, je parle d'action aussi, avec l'Asperger, tu sais, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, c'est sûr que j'ai survécu beaucoup. Hein. J'ai plein de cicatrices, mais perte de mémoire, je m'en souviens juste des 7, 8, 9 ans. Je m'en souviens avoir déménagé aussi. D'une place, il y avait beaucoup de moisissures, la moisissure noire, la moisissure blanche. Tu sais, la moisissure noire, la moisissure blanche, bleue, ça soit bleu, blanche. Cette convergence. Et c'est beau ça. Fait que, ayant survécu, ben des choses que j'ai survécu, tu sais, pour en faire. Ayant survécu, ben c'est ça, comme je disais, la SQDC. Fait que j'ai appliqué le même principe, SQDC, pour appliquer le même principe de la SQDC, que ça soit bien sûr dans cette convergence, pour que ça soit dans cette convergence de l'histoire, de l'avoir vécu. Alors vécu, bien sûr, dans ce point de vue étant mercredi aussi, pour l'affaire de cette histoire d'avoir rentré dans ce COVID que j'ai eu moi-même. Puis en ayant la COVID, je me suis dit, mais je suis mort. Quand j'avais la COVID, je dis toujours, mais c'est mon dernier chapitre. Je suis en train de mourir, c'est mon dernier chapitre. J'ai survécu, je crédite ayant survécu, pas juste à l'hygiène publique, puis je me suis fait vacciner 3 fois après, mais à la déesse. Puis je veux bâtir aussi, bien sûr, le temple de la déesse oubliée. Puis en voulant bâtir le temple de la déesse oubliée, c'est des choses qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même dans ce point de convergence. Puis de célébration, parce que je célèbre en fin de compte, ayant survécu la COVID dans ce domaine, tu sais, de quelqu'un qui a survécu la COVID et que je pensais que c'était mon dernier chapitre. Et c'est beau ça. Un petit peu d'histoire quand même, puis on est en train de faire l'histoire. Quoi ça dit? Wow! 15 cents, c'était quoi ça? Wow! Hey, c'est quelque chose, on découvre, hein? On on découvre toujours des choses. Je pense que de l'histoire, ça fait quand même quelque chose de bien qu'on est rendu à avoir une bonne chose dans la transmission, puis ça soit bien sûr pour ce point de convergence qu'on a pu faire ici, ensemble pour en faire bien sûr dans ce point d'embauche. C'était-tu des points d'embauche qui étaient là? Je pense que c'était 15 cents que ça coûtait entre Saint-Denis, c'était un billet de train. Wow! C'est quelque chose quand même, tu sais. Histoire, mais on fait de l'histoire aujourd'hui. Ils veulent en faire avec des chansons et des tunes, bien sûr, s'ils veulent en faire avec leur affaire d'histoire que ça soit. Mais c'est des choses. Il faut que je sois moi-même dans cette convergence de points de vue. Bien sûr que moi, ayant survécu la COVID, ça m'a fait apprécier le jour au quotidien. Fait que je vis carpe diem comme ça, je sais, mon dernier jour, mais avec de l'espoir pour demain puis pour le futur. Puis je suis convaincu que la théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est un paradoxe parce que ça sort de... J'ai été maudit par l'Asperger. Je vis avec une condition qui s'appelle l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, qui n'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence et ça fait vraiment que j'ai comme bien des autistes hautement fonctionnels, des Asperger, des Aspis comme moi-même. C'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait que notre cerveau est différent. Fait que nous, on est super concentré, super dedans, super concentré, super dedans, super intense. Intense. Quand on travaille, quand on héberge, quand on étudie les choses qu'on appelle les intérêts spéciaux. Qu'on a des intérêts spéciaux, c'est connu comme des intérêts obsessifs, mais si j'utilise intérêt obsessif, ça rend pas justice. Ça rend pas justice à qu'est-ce que la condition de neurodivergence avec laquelle je vis moi-même, puis j'ai accepté parce que ça fait des années, puisque 7 ans qu'on m'avait diagnostiqué avec l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, aussi connu comme l'Asperger's, et bien sûr, je vis avec. Et donc, notre cerveau est différent. Fait qu'il y a des choses que la société, la convergence de la société qu'on a de la misère à comprendre. Ou des fausses causes comme, mettons, l'espace personnel, un aspect comme moi-même. Je suis un individu avec l'Asperger. Je ne prononce pas pour tout le collectif des aspects qui est quand même une petite minorité. Hein. C'est moins d'1%, moins de la moitié d'1%, moins à peu près 0,44%. Fait que c'est rare, c'est une condition rare. C'est très rare, l'Asperger. Fait que cette condition, ça fait que j'ai ces intérêts spéciaux, mais on a de la misère dans certaines choses vis-à-vis l'interaction sociale, mettons, savoir quand parler, quand se taire, l'espace public, l'espace personnel aussi, là, on a tendance à se rapprocher proche de 1 pouce, 2 pouces, tellement proche du visage ou du corps de l'autre que l'autre citoyenne, ou peut-être monsieur, madame comme moi-même, en étant androgyne moi-même, avec Asperger's, peut-être je commence à être intimidé un peu, puis penser, faire l'équation que c'est une maladie, mais c'est juste que ces choses-là sont difficiles pour nous à comprendre comment qu'on est fait, comment que notre cerveau est fait. Fait que nous, on est plus penchés sur d'autres choses. Fait que ce côté, on a de la misère, on a des difficultés dans le social, dans des interactions sociales, dans ces marques sociales, quand parler, quand ne pas parler, puis quand comprendre, quand pas comprendre, bien sûr, puis quand parler, quand ne pas parler, puis quand se rapprocher, bien sûr, que ça soit dans le rapprochement, bien sûr, de certaines choses comme l'espace personnel. C'est des choses, bien sûr, que moi, je dois vivre avec. Fait que c'est des choses que moi, je dois vivre avec. Fait que je fais toujours un travail. Je dois toujours bâtir des ponts envers ceux qui ne sont pas neurodivergents, ceux qui n'ont pas l'Asperger's. Et des fois, c'est difficile. Le problème, c'est que bien des autistes hautement fonctionnels, ceux qui ont l'Asperger's, des aspis comme moi-même, il y a un gros pourcentage, ils ont de la misère, comme moi-même inclus, à maintenir un emploi, par exemple. Maintenir un emploi à long terme. J'ai eu bien de l'emploi que j'ai bien aimé. Travailler avec le CHSLD, travailler avec le fer dans les entrepôts. Puis durant la COVID, j'ai eu beaucoup d'emplois que j'ai bien aimé, mais ça a duré un couple de semaines, un couple de mois. Parce qu'encore une fois, c'est un taux de chômage très élevé dans mes aspects parce qu'il y a cette peur, cette angoisse, cette malcompréhension qui pensent bien des gens encore, mais on commence à démystifier de plus en plus l'Asperger dans ce moment fonctionnel, mais c'est encore bien des citoyens qui font une équation comme si ça serait une maladie, tu sais, mais c'est pas une maladie. c'est pas une maladie, c'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est juste une neurodivergence. Ça fait que moi-même, j'ai ces intérêts obsessifs, puis dans ces intérêts obsessifs, ben j'aime pas utiliser le mot obsessif, vous voyez, parce que ça rend pas justice. Je vais utiliser le mot intérêt spécial. Puis oui, je suis super concentré, super dedans, super intense quand ça vient à la géopolitique. L'entraînement physique, le sport, l'entraînement physique et le sport que je préfère, c'est la danse. Je peux en danser pendant des heures. Hein. Le rock and roll aussi, je rentre dans des tranches, je fais la création des chansons de rock and roll au quotidien, en français puis en anglais quotidiennement, à tous les jours. Faut que j'en fasse. J'en fais. Je pars pour le rock and roll, vous mettez, vous chantez une trombone, une complète, là que ça soit, puis je vous chante du rock and roll. Il n'y a pas de problème, machin. J'en compose du quotidien des chansons de rock and roll. Je suis artiste, athlète, philosophe, analyste et théoricien en géopolitique et mystique. Ma spiritualité est pas mal rock and roll. Là. Ma spiritualité est pas mal rock and roll. Fait que ma spiritualité est pas mal rock'n'roll, mais je crois à des réincarnations. Des fois, j'étais né homme-femme de l'ancienne Égypte, prêtresse, pour dragon arc-en-ciel, le prêtre, prêtresse, fermier, guerrier, travailleur en construction. Demandez-moi pas comment ils ont bâti les pyramides, parce que je pourrais pas vous dire hein, comment les pyramides ils ont été bâtis. Je sais que c'est des temples d'initiation, mais à part plus que ça, je peux pas divulguer plus, parce que je ne sais pas. Peut-être c'est... ça restera peut-être un mystère encore 2000 ans. On va être rendu à être sur Mars, puis on va pas savoir comment que les pyramides ont été bâties. On ne sait pas encore. Hein. C'est quelque chose. On a des satellites dans le ciel, là. De Starlink, puis on ne sait pas comment les pyramides ont été bâties. C'est-tu un paradoxe, ça, ou quoi? C'est un gros paradoxe, ça. Les centrales d'Hydro-Québec qui ont été bâties, les 63 centrales, toute l'électricité, les téléphones intelligents avec les micropuces, les ordinateurs, là. Mais on ne sait pas comment les pyramides ont été bâties, construites. Hein. C'est un paradoxe, pensez-y. Là. Ils ont été construits il y a 4500 ans. 4500 ans ou 4000 ans, ça dépend lesquels, parce qu'il y en a bien, mais le complexe majeur de 3 pyramides, ben, c'est quelque chose. Hein, fait que... Bon, de retour à ce progrès par la géopolitique. Aujourd'hui, en célébrant ma victoire sur la COVID, je dois dire que je marque aussi plus que 5 ans depuis que j'ai prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment en géopolitique. J'avais prévu en octobre 2019, puis j'ai la preuve pour ça parce que j'ai créé en conséquence un entraînement physique qui ne requiert aucun équipement, que j'ai fait la performance moi-même de plus que 372 de ces 372 session de mon propre système d'entraînement physique qui, pour le compléter, c'est à peu près environ 1 heure, entre 44 minutes et 50 secondes, le moins, puis 90 minutes. Mais le terme, c'est 93 minutes et 40.